The Minnesota Vikings organization found themselves in the most enviable of positions a year ago, flush with cap space and possessing a roster that had defied all expectations to achieve a stunning double-digit win season. Largely powered by a veteran quarterback who was deemed by many to be a replaceable placeholder. They had successfully navigated the critical, if uncomfortable, transition away from that veteran signal caller and secured a potential face of the franchise in the first round of the draft, a young man whom league executives claimed possessed all the traits, the arm, the athleticism, the winning pedigree to be their future. This was supposed to be the moment the Vikings finally put the quarterback puzzle piece in place, securing not just a short-term answer, but a long-term foundation that would allow their elite offensive weapons to flourish for the next decade. Instead, what we are witnessing on the field is a clinical and complete collapse of the entire project, an undeniable regression so profound that it threatens to set the franchise back years. The so-called McCarthy experiment has not just yielded disappointing results. It has been a spectacular, unmitigated failure that demands an immediate reckoning from the top down, a failure that must be analysed in its full, sobering context, because the signs of this inevitable catastrophe were fair, visible long before he ever set foot on an NFL field. The central problem with this entire venture begins not with his professional struggles, but with a fundamental misunderstanding of his college context, a failing of the scouting department that prioritized speculative traits over proven necessity. B. At the University of Michigan, McCarthy was not the engine of the offense. He was a highly efficient, well-oiled component within a machine built upon dominant trench warfare and a relentless, rushing attack. While his peers like Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Bownix were tasked with shouldering the burden of their respective teams, required to execute complex, high-pressure throws every single Saturday, and often needing to rescue their team with heroic, off-schedule plays. Off-schedule plays. McCarthy's role was fundamentally different and, frankly, far simpler. He was a system quarterback, utilised perfectly by a coach who understood his limitations, asked only to deliver the ball accurately on time, and, most importantly, not turn it not. His crowning achievement, a national championship, was secured in a contest where he did little more than manage the game, effectively functioning as a high-priced ball handler while the offensive and defensive lines dismantled their opponent. This protective environment fostered an illusion of readiness, masking the fact that he was never truly field-tested under the duress of having to carry an offense on his back, leaving him entirely unprepared for the sheer volume of reads, the blistering speed of the pass rush, and the necessity of anticipating NFL coverage rotations that he now faces every snap. The transition to the professional game has exposed these collegiate deficiencies in the most brutal possible fashion, manifesting as a trifecta of crippling mechanical and mental errors. First and foremost is the issue of accuracy, which was supposed to be a non-negotiable strength coming out of a system that demanded efficiency. Yet, in the NFL, McCarthy has been shockingly erratic, constantly overshooting or underthrowing even wide-open receivers. It is a damning indictment when a quarterback with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison at his disposal cannot deliver a catchable ball consistently, robbing the offense of easy yardage and momentum. Secondly, his processing speed is simply too slow for the demands of the league. He is consistently late on his throws, a half-second delay on an out route, transforming a safe completion into a dangerous interception opportunity, a mistake that the video evidence confirms has cost the Vikings critical scoring chances. Compounding these physical and mental flaws is his complete lack of pocket awareness, a deficiency that turns routine pressure into catastrophic sacks or hurried, inaccurate throws. Whether it is his tendency to run backwards when faced with interior pressure or his lack of willingness to step up and deliver a throw in the face of contact, his instincts in the pocket are those of a quarterback who is terrified of the consequence. A mindset that fundamentally paralyzes an offense at the professional level. This combination of inaccuracy, slow reads, and survival mode mechanics leads directly to his alarming turnover rate, a metric that, after only a handful of starts, already rivals the worst in the league. What makes this failure even more egregious is the favourable environment the Vikings created for him. A situation many young quarterbacks can only dream of inheriting. The team invested heavily in the offensive line, ensuring a substantial upgrade in protection from the unit that protected his predecessor. He was handed a receiving corps that features two bona fide stars in Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in football, and Jordan Addison, who would be a #1 option on many NFL teams, alongside a tight end. This is not a situation where a young quarterback is asked to manufacture offense with replacement-level talent. This is a situation where he is given all the necessary tools, protection, separation, and an elite open targets to succeed with a simple command and control approach. Yet, his inability to execute the foundational elements of the position has rendered this elite supporting cast virtually useless, effectively wasting the prime years of players like Jefferson. The narrative that he is just a raw rookie who needs time rings hollow when measured against the stark fact that he is failing at the basic, highly supported tasks, a clear regression from the minimal requirements he successfully managed in college. The responsibility for this disaster, however, does not rest solely on the shoulders of the young quarterback. The coaching staff, and specifically head coach Kevin O'Connell, must answer for the strategic malpractice that has accelerated the collapse. When a quarterback is demonstrably struggling with accuracy, is hesitant in the pocket, and is consistently turning the ball over, the game plan must be surgically tailored to protect him, to simplify his reads, and to lean heavily on the strengths of the personnel. For the Vikings, this should have meant committing to the run game with power backs to control the line of scrimmage, utilizing the improved offensive line to establish the rhythm that was absent in his college film, and building the passing game almost entirely off play action, and quick. High percentage throws. Instead, O'Connell has inexplicably continued to call for high-volume passing attacks, often demanding upwards of 40 pass attempts in games where the defense is clearly loading the box and daring the Vikings to trust their struggling rookie. This strategic hubris is baffling. It is akin to handing the keys to a brand new sports car to a novice driver and immediately sending them onto a high-speed, crowded highway, rather than letting them learn in a parking lot. The unwillingness to adapt the play calling to match the painful reality of McCarthy's limitations has not only led to losses, but has actively contributed to the erosion of the quarterback's confidence and the further exposure of his technical flaws. A failure of coaching that is nearly as profound as the failure of the player himself. Looking to the future, the failure of the McCarthy experiment carries immense and complex ramifications for the entire franchise structure. The competitive window for a team with Justin Jefferson in his prime is now closing rapidly, a consequence of sinking a critical first-round pick into a bust who demands years of expensive, fundamental rebuilding. Where? The general manager's draft record, which was already under scrutiny for a lack of consistent success outside of the immediate first round, is now hanging by a thread, forced to justify the decision to pass on proven talent for a speculative project. Should the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, manage to survive the season, a possibility hinged entirely on his prior success, he will inevitably face a new general manager who may not be tied to him, bringing into question the stability of the entire organization. So, the Vikings are now thrown back into the quarterback purgatory. They thought they had escaped, facing a bleak off-season, where they must either cling to the desperate, small hope that McCarthy can somehow be completely rebuilt, or admit the mistake and immediately seek a replacement. The current free agent class offers little solace, highlighting the critical nature of the blunder. What the team truly needs is a quarterback who can prioritize accuracy and mental acuity over raw, untested athleticism. A signal caller who can immediately distribute the ball to the talent that surrounds him. Unless the Vikings ownership is willing to make the painful but necessary decision to cut their losses and pursue a viable veteran or trade target, they risk enduring another season where their elite offensive weapons are neutralized by incompetence under center. Ensuring that the legacy of this era will be defined not by the wins of their past, but by the complete and utter failure of their ill-fated quarterback experiment. The clock is ticking and the evidence is overwhelming. The experiment is over, and it's time to pull the plug.